What's going on, guys? So today we're going to be going over the two new upgrade events coming to Blade and Soul on June 20th. Now, the first one we're going to be checking out is the Weaponsmith's Forge. This will be here from the 20th of June till July 25th. So basically it'll be here for over a month, and this one's actually pretty decent. They have some good stuff in here. So what's happening is Baleful, Syrup, Riftwalk, Dawnforged, and Raven. All those weapons are getting a cost reduction from the June 20th day to the July 25th day. So from this extended period, they'll all have cost reductions period. So literally you can just upgrade a Baleful weapon and it'll have that cost reduction. You don't have to get any type of special item or anything like that, which is pretty nice. They have a link showing all the cost reductions. We're not going to go over all of it because, as you can see, it's a lot. But I just wanted to point out a few things. One thing to note is Aranzu did not get any cost reductions, unfortunately. I was actually hoping they would do at least some for like stages 1 through 3, just because that weapon is very damn expensive. But unfortunately, they didn't do that. The cost reductions stop at Raven 6. So this is, generally just a new player helpful event, and I actually do like this event. I feel like it's pretty useful. One of the key things I want to point out is the Syrup and Baleful got a lot of cost reduction. Like if you look at some, see if the before is the white and then the after, is the darker shade. So if you look at some of these, for example, at Matt stage from stage 11 to 12, if you're upgrading Baleful and Syrup, it's easily a 10 cost reduction of legendary elements, which is right there like 100 gold. Not counting 5 less transformation stones, which is easy over 50 gold. A lot of these are actually pretty nice. Some of these are not too good, like just 5 off at least in crystals. But some of these are pretty decent. You're taking off half of the moonstone crystals. It used to be 30, it'll be 15. Soulstone crystals, it'll be 50 instead of 100. So for new players, this is actually a pretty decent event to upgrade your Baleful and Syrup, because they did reduce those by a lot. And you'll save a couple hundred gold in total from upgrading them. Now, another couple things I want to mention is Syrup and Baleful going into Riftwalk and Dawnforge. This is pretty interesting because, honestly, with this event, Riftwalk and Dawnforge is actually a pretty decent path to go. Because if you look at a few things, for example, the premium transformation stones got reduced. So now it only costs us 1 for the stages instead of 2, which is, a 300 gold less cost for each stage, which is actually pretty damn big. So honestly, going Riftwalk and Dawnforge is actually pretty decent with this event. The only problem I have is for new players, this isn't very relevant because literally, like for example, if you go Riftwalk and Dawnforge as a new player, you will have to get from stage 1 to stage 6 before this event ends within that month. Otherwise, you're screwing yourself over, because let's say you get to stage 4 or 5. Let's say you get to stage 4 Riftwalk and you're a new player, and then the event ends, because it costs us over 1,000 gold to get stage 1 to stage 6, even with the reductions. So let's say you get there and then the event ends. So what's going to happen is you're going to have to pay 2 premium transformation stones for the next 2 upgrades to stage 6 instead of 1. So you're looking at over 600 extra gold that you would have not had to spend if you went Raven, because Raven only costs us 1 stone for all the stages. So honestly, like the Riftwalk and Dawnforge, if you do all the math and everything, it might be pretty good to go there if you have like an ult character and you have gold to give to get all the way to stage 6. But in general, if you're a new player, I really recommend just going Raven, because overall it's going to save you. And I don't see any new player making over 1,000 gold in a month in this game unless they're spending money. So I don't really feel like it's going to be relevant for new players. But I might test it out on my ult to see if Riftwalk is a pretty good way to go for this event at least. Now, besides that, they have cost reductions to Raven. Not really too big. Honestly, I would have liked to seen some reductions to the premium transformation stones. Also, I would have liked to seen more reductions to the Empyrean Spirit stones. They're only reducing that by 1. And that's not bad. That's like 200 gold less, which is actually a pretty big deal. But I would have liked to seen this get reduced to like 2 or 3. Like 2 would have been ideal, because this is like the biggest curve for new players. Like, these are 200 gold a piece, and there's no optimal way to get these except buying them from the marketplace. Tracking them, you're losing gold. So it's like, this is like a pain in the ass to get, and I would like to see them reduce it more if they really want to help out new players. But overall, this event is pretty decent. Again, not a huge change for a lot of people, but at least for Syrup and Baleful, you should be able to upgrade those pretty damn easily if you're a new player. There should be no excuse. But those are just some of the changes. If you want to go over like every single thing, you can check it out for yourself. Besides that, they have a thing basically called these stones, and with these stones, you can use them in the Dragon Express to buy various items. So how it works is you can get 6 of these stones a day from the daily challenge. So what happens was you complete the daily challenge, you get 2 chests, and in each chest they give 3 of the stones. So you get a total of 6. And then if you want to do, for example, these dungeons on certain days, you actually can get additional ones. So if, on Monday, if you do Desolate Tomb and Abjurate Lair, you'll get an additional one from each daily quest. So that's pretty decent. So you can rack those up pretty fast. And some of the things you can get are actually pretty good. So the first one is Wrath Hunter. And you can look at the costume right here. It's pretty decent. Honestly, I probably wouldn't go for it, but if you do like it, there you go. Another thing is a illusion weapon chest. Now this one's pretty interesting because it actually has an aura around it. And it actually looks pretty good. This is something I might go for, especially for my Blade Dancer. I like it. And they note that it comes with a unique aura. And honestly, I really love True Heart's aura effect from the Valentine's event. So honestly, I might go for this. It's only 35 stones, which is not bad at all, because you get at least 6 stones a day from the daily challenge. So this adds up pretty fast. Besides that, they do have Nebula stones. Now, you might be like, well, aren't we getting cost reductions? Why would we need Nebula stones? And that's something I really want to point out real quick is, for you don't get confused, the Nebula stones do not reduce the materials at all. The Nebula stones are only used to replace the offering that you need to upgrade your weapon. So for example, let's say you need the Tiger weapon to upgrade from stage 1 to stage 2 of Riftwalk or Dawnforge. You use the Nebula stone to replace that. So you no longer need the Tiger weapon, you'll just use the Nebula stone. It doesn't reduce the cost of the materials at all. That's only from the event. So the Nebula stone is only good, if, for example, if you don't want to farm the Iron Tech Forge weapon right here and just want to use the stone. And I want to really clarify that because it is kind of confusing. I was a little confused at first because if you're an older player like myself back in the day, Nebula stones actually reduce the materials and the gold cost and everything like that. For this event, they're only used to replace the upgrade material of the weapon itself. Again, so if you're upgrading Raven, you won't have to use Raven feathers. You can just use the Nebula stone. So they're not honestly that good as they used to be. The reductions will just be given to everyone. So honestly not super useful unless you don't want to farm for like a weapon chest. But these are actually pretty cheap, so you can get them pretty fast within a couple days. And besides that, they have some gems, Raven feathers, generic just crap. But that's really it, honestly. The cost reductions, as I said, are kind of not super good, but honestly, for new players, they should help them a good amount. Honestly, I'm just glad they're doing some type of cost reduction because I was hoping they'd help out new players a little bit. But that's the cost reductions. So the other event is the Raid Crusade event. This will be going on the same duration of the other event. And basically what this event is, they're giving out these Raid Revival Charms. So when you complete the weekly challenge, you'll get 3 of these. And, as the name suggests, what happens is you're in a raid, you use them, and it instantly revives you. Just like the ones that they have for dungeons and stuff like that, the Han Moon Revival Charms. These are the same type of things, but they're for raids. We've never had anything like this, so this is kind of cool. They've always just been dungeon exclusive. They do have a 15-minute cooldown, so it's not like you can use them over and over. It will be, a pretty good amount of time. But I think they're shorter than the dungeon ones. I think the dungeon ones are like 30 minutes or something like that. But overall, these will actually be pretty useful for, stuff like Vortex Temple runs and stuff like that. Even maybe helping out new players with Black Tower runs because it just gives you like a get out of jail free card, get to insta revive yourself. I don't know if this is like their way to like try to help people do part 2 of the Nightfall Sanctuary raid. I don't know if this was like their secret weapon because everyone was like, when they're releasing, the new raid part 2 on June 20th, everyone's like, we can't even clear this. Is this a way to try to like help by putting out these raid revival charms? I don't really know how useful they'll be. I feel like you're just going to use them and just die again because there's a huge DPS mark that you have to hit to even take out that final boss. And I don't really know how useful these will be. Again, I could be completely wrong. We'll have to see when raids attempt to do part 2. But these are pretty decent, nothing crazy, but it might help you with your clan maybe finish Hive Queen or something like that. So they're decent, and you get them from the weekly challenge, so you're gonna do those anyway. So just a nice little addition in general. But overall, that's really the event. Just some decent cost reductions, and the raid revival charms. and then of course the whole Celestial Dawn update itself. Honestly, I felt like the upgrade, reductions could have been a little bit better in terms of like the Empyrean Spirit Stones and stuff like that, because you still need like 4 or 5 to get Raven, and those are like 200 gold a piece, and it's like no new player is going to be able to even do that in it's going to be an insane amount of time to get like over 500 gold to even get one stage into Raven. So the cost reductions are good for like Bale and Syrup, and maybe for people trying to get to Raven stage 6, but for a new player, I don't feel like this is going to magically help them get to Raven. But overall, it's decent. I'll take it over nothing, but I'm glad they're doing something at least, not just ignoring the player base. But what do you guys think about this event? Do you like the cost reductions? And how do you feel about these raid revival charges? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys real soon.